Here we're going to tie a fly called the Medallion Midge. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with some brown or rusty brown colored thread. Then we're going to tie in a little bit of 6/0 white thread, just like a 4 or 5 inch strand. We're going to wrap this all the way back to the bend of the hook. Then I'm going to take my rusty thread forward, trying to keep that body as smooth and even as possible. And I'm going to stop just around the thorax region, about a third of the way up. Then I'm going to take that 6/0 thread and I'm going to segment or rib the body here. Oopsie. Trying to do that as evenly as possible. And once I get to the thorax, I can capture that thread, that 6/0, and just tie it off. The next thing to do is to tie in a piece of medallion sheeting. It's about 1/8 of an inch wide or so. And we're going to take this medallion sheeting, we're going to tie it in right on top of the shank of the hook. There we go. And then I'm going to build a thorax out of superfine dubbing. For this color here, I'm going to use some gray superfine dubbing. And you want to be very careful how much you add. Just add a little bit at a time, enough to kind of coat the thread. I'm going to take that superfine dubbing and I'm just going to build a thorax up, a nice round bulbous thorax. So usually that takes a couple rounds of dubbing here to get it to where I want it. Not quite, want it a little more round. So I add a little bit more. It's better to add it in little pieces rather than put it all on one big chunk. There we go. And then I'm going to take my thread right up to the eye. Then I'm going to pull that medallion sheeting right over the top of the hook here and lash it down. I'm going to trim the medallion sheeting just so I have a little bit hanging off of the front. Then I'm going to take that medallion sheeting and I'm going to cut it right in half. And then I'm going to take my hackle plier and I'm going to clip into one end of that medallion sheeting here, and I'm going to split it right down the middle. And this one's not going to cooperate, so I'm just going to have to cut it right down the middle. Sometimes you can split it if you get on a seam. This one I'm just going to have to cut it right down the middle, all the way to the thread. There we go. And once you've got it split, you're going to take each of those pieces and you're going to lash them down to each side of the fly. Then you can whip finish to finish off the head. And now you're going to cut the wing pads. So what I'm going to do is just cut the medallion sheeting just longer than the wing case. And I'm going to round the corners. And I do that for the other side as well. Probably the more delicate part of this fly. Just trying to deal with the sheeting here and the wing pads. I just try to round them as much as I can. There we go. And one side's a little bigger, so I'll just give it a bit of a haircut. There we go. And that's all there is to the Medallion Midge. It's pretty simple, pretty easy fly to tie. The hardest part is, like I said, just dealing with those wing pads and getting them to split. It's nice if you have a scissor that has a fairly long tip, so you can just do it in one swipe. That's all there is to the Medallion Midge. And you can get all the materials, including the medallion sheeting, at intheriffle.com.